Hi friends, Dr. Rob. This week I want to share about the time I taught John Maxwell a leadership lesson, but that's going to come up in just a moment. First I want to talk about our subject matter, and that is turning a negative into a positive. Turning a negative into a positive. So often people around us, or once in a while even ourselves, will catch ourselves being negative. You think, how am I going to do that? Well, if we're catching ourselves, it's really pretty easy to do. You just, as soon as you catch yourself being negative, saying, you know what, I'm sorry, I was getting into a negative mind frame there. Let me go a different direction. And people will respect you for doing that. They'll respect you on two counts. First of all, you caught yourself and you have self-awareness. Number two, you were willing to do something about your behavior. Most people aren't doing that. It's a fantastic leadership behavior. When you catch somebody else being negative, it depends on the situation, but often you have to think, well, in this, why are they being negative? And are they being negative towards me or towards somebody else? If they're in a situation, specifically a group situation, they say something really negative, what I have found is one of the very best things you can do is say, I'm sorry, could you clarify what you meant by that statement? As soon as you say something like that and they have to own something that they said was really negative, usually they'll start backing off on it. Now, once in a while, you get somebody who's kind of a jerk and they'll double down on being negative and something, but then they're showing their colors for all to see. And, you know, it's not your job to correct every negative person in the world. What it is your job to do is, especially if you're the leader of the group, is to keep things moving in as positive direction as possible. Another thing that you can do when things start to turn negative, in addition to saying, hey, could you clarify that for me? Is you could see, you know what, that sounds a little bit negative. Is there a better way that we can put that, or can we reframe that for the rest of the group? Or, hey, you guys, let's help him out. What could we say that was, when you do something like that, it's going to take some guts on your part, but if you can get them in their mind or others to say, let's always think about reframing it. Let me give you a quick example of that. If somebody says something like, dude, that guy just really needs to improve on his presentation skills. Something positive we could say is, hey, we're all in process, and on his presentation skills, we've got to figure out some ways to help him out, or some resources that would really be a blessing to him as he continues on his journey. There's something about saying something positive and wanting to help people rather than that they're doing bad that is fantastic. Here's why, because anyone that when they're talking, if somebody starts talking negative about someone, specifically if they're not there, what happens is it turns the whole conversation negative, and if they see you rescuing the conversation and turning it back to positive, they will want to be your friend. They're going to come to you and they're going to thank you in private, but also they're going to want to be friends with you because they know that you won't let anyone else talk negatively behind their backs. Now, this has to do with that leadership lesson. I had the privilege of playing golf with John Maxwell and my friend Craig Freeman. We were there. It was for a fundraiser thing that John was putting on, his Leadership Open. And we happened to be paired together. And I said, John, I'm going to teach you a leadership lesson. And it's so good that someday you're going to put it in one of your books and everyone's going to think it's yours. But when you and I see each other, we'll know what's going on, won't we? And so we were laughing at about it. He's like, okay, Rob, what you got? Hit me with it. And here it is. Are you ready? The second person to speak wins the conversation. The second person to speak wins the conversation. What do I mean by that? Well, let's suppose there's 5 or 6 people standing around, and I've got a friend named Marius. The dude's fantastic at technical work and filming and camera and putting together websites. But let's suppose someone took a shot at Marius and they said, that Marius guy, his latest websites, I don't like them at all. What the next person says is going to guide the whole conversation, because if somebody goes, yeah, I know what you mean. It seems like he's struggling lately. Well, then the whole conversation's going negative. But what if the second person to speak says something like this? I don't know. I kind of like Marius's work. As a matter of fact, the one that he did last year was really unbelievably good. Well, now what happens is everyone else will go in the positive direction. Because somebody puts out there something negative, the second person to speak wins the conversation. Because if that second person will have the guts to right away take this, and here's what I try to do. Are you ready? I always start with this line. Well, I don't know, because, and I say I don't know because, why do I say that? I'm just giving myself time to think. But anytime I hear a negative comment, I want to jump in and be that second person to speak. I don't know, because I think that she has really been improving lately, and I'm really encouraged by that. Whoever can be the second person to speak will take a conversation that was heading in a negative direction and begin to take it into a positive direction. How do you turn a negative into a positive? Number one, you've got to be positive yourself. If you catch yourself doing something negative, catch it, admit it, and move it in a different direction. If it's in a group setting, be the second person. Hey, this week's freebies, you're going to love it. It's a great checklist on things that you can do, and 5 more ideas that come from a professor at USC on how to reframe conversations that are going from negative to positive. Be sure to jump over to LeaderTribe, download that. This is Dr. Rob. Thanks for being part of the tribe.